Well, I think events, technology has just made such a difference now in events. So you're going to have to hit the people with their first impression so much quicker. The wow factor, what they're going to, take away from the event is going to be immediate. Everybody's attention span is just so much shorter these days with all the technology and everything we have today. So I think that's going to come into play.
And it used to be that you would arrive at an event and people would get a welcome specialty drink, and the next day I was like, oh, the event was great. You walked in, there was a welcome specialty drink. And now they've evolved so much, like people, especially here in Miami, people just expect to be wowed. From the moment they arrive until they leave, they just expect so much more.
In the next 5 years, I really think events are going to evolve where all the guests are ambassadors from the event. So we're already Facebooking and tweeting from the events, but I think they're going to really go and live beyond the bricks and mortar of the event. It's going to be all about being more interactive, more guest engagement, more participation from the guests. I think it's no more that they're going to be just entertained and fed when they get there. We're going to be able to give them the message that we want to broadcast out.
We're just at the dawn of being a digital sort of nation, and I see that 3D props will always coexist with the environment, but I also see the addition of digital imagery being added to different venues. So totally being able to change the aesthetic of a place that you're at to something, magical or fantasy-like.
I think that the essence of events won't change. I think that events, essentially, the basics will stay the same, and I think that we're going to see a lot of window dressing change in the next 5 years. We'll see more technology, everything from check-in to event elements, but I think that the basics of what make an event great, who's there, the food and the beverage entertainment, is not going to change.
Well, I think that people will be looking for more creative and interesting spaces over the next 5 years, not your typical ballroom and event space.
I think you need to look back a little bit at how events have changed over the last 10 years, certainly, when it used to be we'd do something and we'd have 5,000 people come to it and you'd get great sort of PR coverage out of it. But now we're really changing our events into being kind of content centerpieces and creating content out the back end of those. So whereas we used to hit 5,000 people with a really cool event, now we still hit those 5,000 people, but we amplify it to hundreds of millions of people.
How will events change in the next 5 years? To me, the big thing is that there will be so much saturation in the marketplace with events because now, just like how other industries have been democratized because of social media, so have events. Anybody, anywhere can create and form their own event around the communities that they build online.
I think the biggest change in events over the next 5 years will be a blurring of the line between in-person, virtual, and social media.
Going forward, I think we will see more and more events having a corporate social responsibility element to it. From the very beginning stages where we're planning on what type of food we have to the place settings that we have. So the food, is it organic? The place settings, is it disposable? Is it biodegradable? We have to be conscious of the decisions we make on that.
What we're finding is that the time horizon is greatly shortened, and people are expecting to be able to shop for and have an event produced in a very short amount of time. And of course that's true. They can find vendors and they can see samples and they can make all their choices sometimes within a week of a fairly major event.
Well, I think in the next 5 years we're going to see events change. That the sponsors are going to become more and more strategic in their placements, and they're going to require more and more return on their investment, and really look to us to make those brands shine.
And also I think you're going to see a lot more use of social media, Facebook and Twitter, to communicate outside the party what's going on inside.
Well, customers are demanding more and more customization and innovation as it applies to temporary structures. So we're seeing more demand for pop-up stores and plug-and-play type structures that are attached to existing buildings instead of your typical tent, self-sustained tent. You have a structure that's attached to a building, that kind of new technology.
I think people are looking for more of a personality and more of a unique touch on their events, and will be looking to customize their own events to make something feel much more special and unique than they have in the past. I think the hotel model and the turnkey event is completely out, and the average company and the average individual are getting much more familiar with the idea of curating their own experience.
To me, I think you're going to continue to see the integration of social media. That's only going to get bigger and more important. I also think that the integration of marketing, experiential marketing, I think events are going to have a purpose, they're going to have measurable results, and they're going to have to, in many situations, have an afterlife.
I think events are becoming more accessible to the general public, and I think people are much more educated about events, and I think there's been so much publicity around events that people get a sense of what to expect and maybe what not to expect. I certainly recognize it from clients asking for things that I never thought they would know to ask for. So I think more accessible and a real sense of a lot more casual stuff. Even though formal stuff's still important, I think there's a lot more casual.
I think events will change over the next 5 years by incorporating technology into decor, such as video mapping and new technology in lighting.
We will see lighting getting much more efficient, much more energy efficient. Smaller fixtures will become smaller, more powerful. We'll see the use of, we'll see a lot of developments in green technology that will actually help the events as well, because people are reducing their carbon footprint. We'll just see a lot more smaller, more powerful lighting fixtures.
We have a short of actual fabrications and fabrics in United States. So I think we as an event designers and then linen designers, and I think we are going to actually start designing the fabric. And fabric's gonna be actually designed by event designers themselves.
I think events in the catering industry will definitely change using technology, everything with something as simple as QR responses for the menus. You know, everybody sits down, grabs their phone, kind of scans it and gets the whole menu of what they're having, or it directs them to a specific website. Just using technology, iPads, iPods, you know, hear what you're eating, or just kind of gives you another sense of using your 5 senses with food.
I think we're going to see much more sustainable food coming from local growers, not only in our region, Hudson Valley, but little urban farms. I think we're going to see a lot of urban community farms springing up, and people will be interested in supporting that movement and having their foods come from there.